Crime is up everywhere across our beautiful country, and especially in major cities and in suburbs. And that also could mean that people might be breaking into not just your home, but maybe your garage to get into your home and take your valuables. So I've asked a garage door expert. You've seen him before here on the program, Jon Phillips from A1 Garage Door Service. Hey, John, how are you?
Check, bro. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm living the dream. Thanks. So we're going to talk about garage thieves. These are people that break in, correct, and want to steal things, but there are ways that people can prevent this, and it's pretty simple and not that expensive.
No, not really. The whole reason I bring up garage door safety, one, I work at A1 Garage Door, but the access to the garage door, some studies, if you've looked online, if someone's good at it, if you have an overhead operator, what they have is they have a nice little cord, usually
Mhm.
on a red cord, and it hangs down, and that's for your manual release. And what these guys do, guys and gals, they get a coat hanger and they shim the top of the door and they get that coat hanger and they pull on that manual release. And some people are so good at this that they can get it in the garage in like 6 seconds. And it's pretty
Wow.
scary.
I did not know that.
Yes. And actually, what you'll see is sometimes we get a lot of calls for locked garages. They don't have access through a man door, or it's a
Mhm.
detached garage. And that's a common method that garage door technicians use to get access to the garage so we can diagnose the operator, of course, when the client's home. But there's stuff in place now to where let's make it not 6 seconds easy, you know? So one
Sure.
is preventative measures. So without the garage door, one of my favorite kind of tips and tricks is getting fake cameras and motion sensor lights on the exterior of the home. So just a deterrent. If you're a thief and you look up and you kind of walk into a garage driveway and then you see that a light goes off and then you see that camera right there, it doesn't even have to be hooked up. But just having that there is kind of one of a very cheap deterrent cost. And then going into the garage itself, the Wi-Fi operators are some of the biggest tools that you can use because anytime it's open, anytime it's used, the status of if it's up or down is all at your fingertips. And a lot of the operators now they have a camera built into it with a live feed straight to it and voice recordings and audio that go both ways. So you can, if you want to be funny, you could scare your spouse or your kids when they're getting into stuff in the garage that they're not supposed to, but ultimately you can hear what's going on in the garage. So even if you have a fake camera outside and you have an operator, so if someone does get access, we really do see what's going on. The motion sensors are built into the operators as well. So if anyone goes into the garage and it's a low, and this is like 360, like LED,
Yeah.
high lumen stuff, like nothing's going to hide, and the camera quality is pretty good. And then there's also other features on it, like you have vacation locks. So if you're leaving, no remotes work. And also, whenever we go through there, basically what we want to do is we want to block people having access to shimmy up and get a coat hanger onto that manual release. Now, there's two ways we can do this. One is the bad way. The bad way that people do is they will zip tie or strap down the manual release.
Hmm.
Now, I don't want to fearmonger people, but that manual release is for emergency use. So if there is an emergency and I have this thing completely tied down, and usually what happens is people forget and there's a serious situation where they need the door open and that rope breaks off before that zip tie or anything will break. Well, now it's 8 feet up in the air where you can't do it to it.
Yeah.
And in an emergency situation, that's bad news bears. So what you should do is get garage door armor, and it's a plate that we put on the J arm, and it completely blocks access to the cord. So this is still usable. We can still use it in an emergency, but this plate goes in front of it to where people can't get the coat hanger to the cord itself. So that's the biggest thing. And because I see a lot of that stuff online, they're like, oh, you don't need garage door armor, just zip tie it. Okay, now you don't have access at all. And when the emergency situation comes up, I mean,
That's
the worst thing that I could hear of that, as far as my experience in the garage door industry, is someone was trying to get their cars out during a fire. They had access to time, and because they had that thing zip tied up, they just had to get the home away. And I mean, I'm glad, of course, yourself first, but they had a chance to get the cars out, and they lost that chance by zip tying it, which ended up losing cars.
Yeah.
That's terrible. I mean, on top of that situation.
Yeah. And so with the way things are today, some of these thieves really don't care. Sometimes the cameras don't actually scare them away. So whatever you can do to keep them from actually opening up the garage door. And I had no idea that someone from the outside could open the garage door with that release. I had no idea from the outside.
Yeah, and if some people, I get it with Wi-Fi and all these other things, people just want more. Let's get some slide locks on the door. We can attach any lock to where it goes to the track. They have automatic electronic ones that are compatible with a wider range of operators now instead of just jack shafts, which are the side mount ones, but also for the overhead ones to where it can automatically engage whenever that door closes. So doing that as well. Aesthetically on the lighter end, do you have windows on your garage door?
Yes.
Yes, you do. That is kind of comes down to a style preference. If I had to make any choice on my mom's garage door and she wanted windows, I would tell her to get obscure glass so people can't look in and scope the place out. And then some manufacturers have an option for security mesh. So you kind of see that at like banks and like security doors where it's glass and then it has the diagonal pattern mesh in there. So even if it is broken out, people can't get through. But at the end of the day, you just got to take a look at your garage or get a technician out there. Let's go from the bottom to the top, and we can just make that Fort Knox and a big deterrent if anyone looks at the garage door. Because the main purpose of people getting access to the garage door, if they do have nefarious intentions, is they want it to be easy. So any hurdles or hoops or anything that makes it instead of 6 seconds, 30 seconds, they're going to freak out and they're going to go somewhere else, which is ultimately what we want.
Sure. You know, your neighbor may not be able to secure as much as you can. And I know that sounds horrible to say, but let them move on from your house to the next house. There's an old joke, has something to do with a bear, I think, and two guys. And the moral of the story is I just have to run faster than you because the bear's going to get the closest one. It's the same thing, right? Right. So the thieves often will hit house to house to house, but certainly you don't want them to hit your house and hit someone else's house. And if you make it difficult by having lights that come on, by having cameras, whether they're real cameras or not, or, you know, putting up the armor, that type of stuff, they're going to give up and they're going to move on.
Yeah. And then, you know, Lord forbid anything happens and you hear about that happening with your neighbor, you refer him to this recording, you refer him to A1 Garage Door. And, you know, maybe we just go down every single house and eventually those thieves are like, hey, that neighborhood's too hard. So we're just not going to do this area anymore. It takes a group effort of a neighborhood, and I just want everyone to be safe. And I think they want to as well. So let's just stop these thieves dead in their tracks.
Yeah. Hey, John, this has been great. All of John's information from A1 Garage Door Service is located in the description of this podcast. They're just a quick click away. John, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tech Pro.